the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 24th chapter. Jesus said to his disciples, "But about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. For as the days of Noah were, so too will it be for the coming of the Son of Man. For in those days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two will be left in the field. One will be taken, one will be left. Two women will be grinding meal together. One will be taken, and one will be left. Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Three Sunday nights ago, while standing in the parking lot of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church, I noticed a strange glow coming from the sky to the northwest. Because of the fall air, there was a chrysalis character about this light. So, when in the car, I decided to follow the light to find out where it was coming from. I was torn between the biblical model of light, meaning the presence of God, and my memories of the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, which as a child scared me to death. I turned right off of Belmont Avenue onto Clark Street, heading north, and it was not long before I discovered that on a Sunday night in November, the lights were on at Wrigley Field. Having Wrigley all lit up in November is almost as strange as having the lights on there in October, so I had to investigate. I had to engage my brain a little as well and search my memory to see if I remembered anything scheduled for that night. When I arrived, it dawned on me. I would say the light went on, but I'm against getting cheap laughs from the pulpit. Northwestern and Illinois were scheduled to play the first football game in Wrigley Field since 1970, and the first college game since 1938, when DePaul University played their home games there. I suddenly got excited. The first game in Wrigley in 72 years. This would be a historic Saturday indeed. I thought of how lucky the fans would be in the right field bleachers with an end zone almost into their lap, and how close the upper decks on the right field side would be to the action. I drove around the ballpark twice, thinking how this would be almost as much fun to watch as hockey's Winter Classic, and I'm not even a big college football fan. As you know, with timing that would be the envy of every Scrooge, on Friday, slightly more than 24 hours before the kickoff, Big Ten officials threw a monkey wrench into the plans. They also turned what could have been a classic into a scrimmage. As you remember, all the offensive plays were to head toward the west end zone. All kickoffs would be kicked toward the east end, and the two schools would switch benches at the half. The Cubs organization was furious, and rightly so. This game would not have been scheduled if it did not pass the strict and meticulous standards of everyone involved, a process that began more than a year ago, Cubs President Crane Kenny said in a statement. All are in agreement that Wrigley Field is a safe place to hold a football game. And it probably would have been, had not both coaches given into their fears and used some ingenuity instead. I looked at it and said, why not use that highly padded wall on the east end zone as a 12th defender? Take it into consideration when calling your plays and refrain from throwing deep in that direction. With a little creativity, this game could have become a classic rather than a circus. Now, I have been known by you folks to make some incredible sermonic stretches in my life, and this may go down as one of the best. But believe it or not, Jesus is telling us the same thing in today's gospel. He's talking about people who are giving in to their worst fear, the end of the world being near, and saying, in effect, to them, don't worry about it. Get on with your lives. Don't play the game of your life on half a field. People do that all the time. They run into a tough patch in their life and immediately throw up their hands and say, let's quit. This was a bad idea in the first place, even if it was in the first place a great idea. And they give up. Creativity turns to cowardice. Faith turns to fear. It's almost as if their lives are cut in half. They stop trying, stop innovating, stop creating, because they are afraid that in the end, everything will not turn out all right. And here is what Jesus says to those who prefer stopping and staring to acting. He says two things. First, speaking about the end of time, he says, nobody knows. Not him, not her, not even me. It's in the Father's hands, and those are hands we can trust. Then, he talks about the days before the great flood and points out that those people were going about the business of living their lives. They were getting married, they were having lunch, cocktail before dinner, they're hanging with friends, enjoying their family, loving their companions. Please note that as some would have us believe otherwise, none of the activities on Jesus' list is particularly sinful. It's a list of everyday things that people do when they are living out their lives on the whole field.